Hi everyone, I'm Isabel Luce. I'm one of the board members of the Charles McDonald Concrete House Museum. I'm happy to announce that we are doing a silent auction with one of John Neville's beautiful paintings called Phil and James. The auction starts on July 1st and goes until July 15th. All you have to do to get involved is send us a bid via email to charlesmcdonaldsociety@gmail.com with your name, the bid, and your address and your phone number so we know how to contact you. Or you can drop into the Charles McDonald Concrete House Museum in Centerville and do it in person. All the proceeds from the silent auction go towards the rehabilitation project at the Concrete House Museum. There's still a lot of work left to be done. So we're really thankful for John to donate his beautiful work for this. And I also talked to John last year, and I have included some of our conversation here so you can learn a little bit more about his art practice and how he grew up in Halls Harbor, which is just down the road from the Concrete House Museum.
Thanks for joining me, John. What drew you to the Charles McDonald story?
Well, as a young, I grew up in Halls Harbor, so I was being Huntington Point regularly. There was a fish weir at Huntington Point that was tended every day at low tide, all summer long, and that was a big part of my daily routine would be to walk down the beach and from Halls Harbor to Huntington Point and see what was in the fish weir. On good days, I mean, this would be 2 or 3 days a week, possibly. And I just love seeing the fish. A lot of them were left in the weir and not taken out. The smaller herrings and little fish that weren't commercially viable, especially flounders. And it was a natural tidal pool. I don't know if you know what a weir is, but it's a fish trap that has 3 parts: a fence, a mouth, and a roundabout. Fish are directed along the fence through the mouth into the roundabout and are caught, have difficulty finding their way out. And as the tide dropped, the fish would be scooped up at low tide by the fishermen who tend to the weir. It's a real simple explanation, but on the way home, I would often walk on the road and up the beach past the Charlie McDonald cottages. The Teapot cottage was in good condition back in the 50s, and it was a beautiful little cottage. The other ones were just gaily painted. The chimney tops were had little model boats with the sails, all made out of concrete, like a pond boat type attachment on the top of the chimney. And just the colors, the yards were filled with deer and animals. Never knew what you were going to see. So it was marvelous for a child to see this, for me anyway. I think it's always been an inspiration. And the Centerville house, that was on the way to Kentville, which was the center of the universe in those days, at least for a kid growing up in the 50s in Halls Harbor. And the school bus usually went past as when I got older and was bused. So there it was, the house with there was a big tiger, the deer, the bathing lady, and the house itself.
Did you ever meet Charlie?
I actually don't remember ever meeting Charlie. And I don't know that there's a reason why I did or didn't. Mabel introduced herself to me in 1976. And she was looking for somewhere what to do with her painting she had of Charlie's, and could I help her market them? And I was fresh out of art school, didn't have a clue. Got one of the neighbors, summer cottage owner, Jack and Martha Crosby, went in, met with her, and purchased, I think, 5 or 6 paintings on the spot. And that allowed her, I forget now if it was either the money was used either to fix her car or to repair the roof. There was some leakage on the roof. These are 2 ongoing issues that she had. And it went on. We formed a friendship. I went in and photographed as much of the work as I could. I had 2 rolls of 36 in my 35 millimeter camera with that tungsten lights, and it was all fairly well done for the time and the equipment I had. Photographed what I could of the notebooks and the artwork and the interior of the house. And that was I believe in 1977. I was involved with some project with Patrick Lorette and Bernie Reardon at the Art Gallery Nova Scotia, which led me to introduce him to Charlie's work. And they took off and gave him a one-person show. Felt that the work was of significance at that time.
And that was at the Nova Scotia Art Gallery?
At the Art Gallery Nova Scotia, the show, well, it toured Lunenburg and Acadia and one other location. But it was a big deal for Mabel, for Charlie, and she was still alive at the time. So it was, I thought it was a great thing to honor his work. I never knew he painted. I just saw the sculptures and the cottages, but when I saw the paintings, I realized here is a guy who did it because he loved to do it. And it wasn't a commercial activity. It was very honest, a painting of the things he loved. And I think he realized, having seen the age of sail disappear in his lifetime, that this was what he was recording. And I mean, he's not a photorealist. He's very much a self-taught, painted what he saw and what he felt. And it's not necessarily an accurate depiction of specific detail, but overall, it's an incredible history of what he saw and what he valued.
I think I'll just go back to Charlie and ask you, why do you think it's important that we save the concrete house?
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. We've got, I think it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, house in the Eastern Canada, the Maritimes, that's been made of concrete. It's a free-form experiment. It's lasted 100+ years. I think it can be a focal point for arts activities, for especially for children, to give them some type of benchmark to say, okay, like this one guy did all this. I could do something myself of significance. And his story is it's a timepiece into the fabric of who we are today and where we're going down the road.